This situation keeps getting even more insane as we have multiple new updates on the Kirill Kaprizov situation out of Minnesota after he turned down the richest contract in NHL history. And we're going to break down why Kirill Kaprizov will end up in New York in this episode of Rangers Digest. We're going to break it all down. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your New York Rangers, or if you're a New York Rangers hater, we see you guys in the comments as well, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this channel is built for blue shirt fandom, and it's the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers coverage and breaking news. But Brett, let's get right into it. We have multiple new updates. Obviously, we covered this the other day when all of this was breaking at the time. Pretty shocking update that Kirill Kaprizov turned down being the richest man in NHL history to this point. But I do understand why he would turn down that contract at the time. Again, it is reported by multiple insiders that he turned down a $128 million contract over the course of 8 years, which is shocking, absolutely shocking, of course, because that is a lot of money. But we know a lot of players and elite players are starting to go shorter term. A lot of people are speculating he wants to stay in Minnesota, but it's going to be short term. Of course, you know, Bill Guerin, the GM of the Minnesota Wild, spoke out that day and said, I know two things. That info didn't come from us, and it didn't come from Kirill's agent. There's been other insiders as well. And this is a brand new report from Daria, who is, you know, respected, is a, you know, notable insider as well, that, you know, the Minnesota Wild have actually now asked Kirill Kaprizov for his trade list, which is a brand new development on all of this. And I have to say, Brett, we broke it down in our other video. There are some conflicting reports saying, and some damage control from the team itself saying, hey, this didn't happen. We're in negotiations. Also, we haven't talked, which is weird for, you know, how that works out. But what are your thoughts on this? Because I think things are happening behind the scenes, and I do not believe he is going to stay with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, it's a classic case of, it's complicated on Facebook, when you make your relationship status. That's what it looks like here. It is very complicated in Minnesota. And, despite the conflicting reports, we understand there are mixed messages out there. But, I'm not going to sit here and, challenge a guy like Frank Saravelli, an insider like that, who is has very credible sources throughout the industry. Not only him, but a ton of NHL insiders writing stories on this. But nevertheless, no matter what the reports say, I've said it consistently here on the channel. Where there is smoke, there is fire. There is a lot of smoke in Minnesota right now between the Wild and Kaprizov. Things are getting wild, Darius, with a capital W. Things are very wild. And you see they're asking for his trade list, and you could just see, you could connect the dots that they are obviously under the impression that if $128 million won't keep him here, just what will? I'm thinking about, what would you and I do, Darius, with $128 million? Maybe look into buying a hockey team of our own, and then maybe we'd sign Kirill Kaprizov. But you need a whole lot more change than that to make that happen. But look, I don't believe he ends up in Minnesota for the long term. It's clear they said we will make you the highest paid player ever, the highest paid player in NHL history, $2 more million than Leon Draisaitl, who you could argue deserves to be paid more than a player like Kaprizov. But nevertheless, this is an electric player. We understand what he can do on the ice. We're not going to waste your time talking about how great he is, because we've already done that, and we could just see by the eye test he's electric when he's out there on the ice. And the Rangers are certainly in the mix here, Darius. I'm getting vibes. I'm starting to get these vibes because, we're talking to Islanders fans. We're talking to some other, people in the tri-state area. And this gives me 2019 vibes all over again, when the Rangers and the Islanders were battling like crazy for the services of Artemi Panarin. And the Rangers obviously came out on top in the end. So I'm hoping the same situation, happens this time, and we could rub it in the Islanders' faces.
Yeah, and in talking to Islanders fans, and listen, we don't like the Islanders here on the channel. Let's just make that be known, of course. But in talking to Islanders fans, and shout out to Patrick over there on Islanders Digest, there is reason to believe that Kaprizov is coming to New York. But the real question is, what team? Because there is a lot of Russian ties in the Islanders organization as well. And obviously, that was a big thing as to why Gavrikov chose New York and took less money over, staying in LA for more money. He turned down more money. And this is Kaprizov turning down a lot of money. And we know Artemi Panarin turned down money as well to be in New York, right? That was reported at the time in 2019, like you brought up, that he did turn down way more money from other organizations and other teams because he wanted to be a New York Ranger. And like you said, we're not going to waste your time talking about Kaprizov, the player himself. This is a premier, elite, whatever word you want to use, player in the league, right? Like over a point a game player every year. Elite. Look at all these numbers, and he turned down 16 million. It's absolutely insane. Now, there are other reports, and these are being shot down as well, that he's looking to push for a record-setting cap percentage of 20% of the cap, one player, which is absolutely insane. Listen, at the end of the day, what I'm picking up from a lot of these reports is Kirill Kaprizov wants a short-term deal, maybe in the 3 to 4 year range, and he does not want it to be in Minnesota. He wants to go to a bigger market where he could probably maximize his earnings, where he could sign another contract in 3 to 4 years, and sponsorship money, endorsements, all that stuff. He can do that in New York, whether he's with the Rangers or the Islanders. Of course, the Rangers, to me, a lot of people give Chris Drury flack. I think he's a no-nonsense type of guy. He wants to build a winner. I have to be honest. He makes some interesting moves, of course, and sometimes it doesn't get over with the, some of the fan base and some of the players as well, but he's trying to win. You can't take that away from him. Now, I want your thoughts on this as well, and thoughts on, him possibly going to the Islanders and stuff like that too. But Bill Guerin came out and said, he doesn't want our market to go into a panic mode. Basically, he's trying to keep everything tame. So a lot of this, coming out from the team looks like damage control to me. I think that there is some truth to a lot of these reports that are coming out, and maybe he doesn't want to stay in Minnesota. Maybe they know something we don't. I have to be honest though. I think the number one reason he turned down this contract extension is the 8 years. I think he wants 3 or 4. But the second reason is that he probably wants to play in a bigger market. What do you make of some of that?
Darius, you nailed it. Damage control, that's exactly what it is. Just like the Edmonton Oilers are doing with Connor McDavid. We're going to take things slow. We're going to be patient, see what happens. Nonsense. You see what a player like Jack Eichel is saying. He wants to remain in Vegas. I'm sure we'll get a deal done, that type of language. You said it so many videos ago here on the channel, and you nailed it. You said some of the language coming out of these free agents, like a Connor McDavid, for example, is very similar to what we saw from Mitch Marner. And what happened to Mitch Marner was in Toronto his entire career and left, and now he's in Vegas. So Kaprizov, McDavid, both players, there is a real possibility that both of them hit the open market. What a scene, what a frenzy. That will be a free agent frenzy. It would be absolutely out of control. And Minnesota is certainly doing damage control here because, like I said, in Edmonton, how do they expect to make the Stanley Cup for the third time in a row if there's all this panic, if there's all this noise talking about if their best player will re-sign or not? Same thing for Minnesota. They have postseason aspirations. They've been a good team in the league the past few seasons. Do you think they want to deal with the noise on a night-to-night basis after a loss during media sessions if Kaprizov is staying or not? They're not stupid. This is exactly what they're doing, damage control. But in the end, I don't believe he's going to remain in Minnesota. There's just nothing that's lining up for me. I'm following the tidbits here. I understand Islanders fans. Patrick does a great job over there on Islanders Digest. You should check it out, as you said. But I understand there are some Russian connections with the Islanders, Shabanoff, and whatever it may be. The Rangers were in play for Shabanoff as well. I wanted him. But those Russian connections are not the same as the Rangers' Russian connections. These players that the Rangers have that are Russian, these are elite players. You talk about Igor Shesterkin. You talk about Vladislav Gavrikov. You talk about, who's the other one? Artemi.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about the bread man. But these are elite players at different positions. One of the best goaltenders in the world. One of the best forwards in the world. One of the best defenseman in the world. So this is not Shabanoff or whoever you want to talk about on the Islanders. And, you could bore me to death with that. When it comes to the Rangers, these players are elite. They're not just Russian, they're elite. So he wants to come here, I believe, get reconnected with those guys. He played on the Olympic team with Igor Shesterkin. He played on the national stage with Vladislav Gavrikov as well. Obviously, the connection with Panarin, we all know what that is. So, you could tell me about the Islanders' connections. I just believe it's stronger with the Rangers, Darius. I really do.
Yeah, and you talk about connections. I mean, Gavrikov, I think I alluded to it earlier this episode that he took less money to come to New York to play with Panarin and Shesterkin and to be in New York. He did that. That happened. You talk about connections. Panarin shares the same agent, as Kirill Kaprizov. They have the exact same agent. So you want to talk about connections? There's one right there. And again, some people are speculating that the Islanders are number one, Rangers number two. Listen, I think he's coming to New York one way or another. And if I was a betting man, he's going to be a New York Ranger next season. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is Jay Fresh. I think he's half joking in this, but he's saying if the Rangers let Panarin walk, which is, listen, still a very real possibility. And we know Chris Drury wants to get younger and better as soon as possible. And we know that the Rangers have a tough time developing talent. They like to go into the free agent pool and make a lot of their signings and upgrades that way. If they let Panarin walk, trade Lafreniere and Trocheck, which, listen, Lafreniere, this is a big season for him, and Trocheck, he's getting a little bit older. They could sign Kaprizov and McDavid to 5 years, 14 million, and 5 years, 15.5 million. So what do you make of that before we wrap up here? Because that's a little, it's not impossible, but it's a little far-fetched, I think, at this point. But listen, the Rangers can make some serious upgrades next year, and they could, if you go to McDavid and you say, listen, we're going to sign Kaprizov to play with you as well. We have an elite goaltender, and our defense is looking a lot better. And you're in New York, it looks attractive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Darius and I are not going to sit here and tell you this is 100% happening. This is
Right.
definitely happening. But this is a tweet from Jay Fresh. You said maybe half joking, but it's not impossible because let's say the Rangers do trade for Kaprizov. We expect him to hit the open market and teams will bid on him. But maybe Minnesota says, you know what? He's not going to come back to be the highest paid player ever. So let's just trade him. Let's get some prospects. Let's get some NHL ready talent. So if you trade for Kaprizov, you're going to start with Alexei Lafreniere, no doubt about it.
Right.
We'll talk more about that in a future video, but I believe, I'm not going to tell you what the exact trade looks like, but it starts with Alexei Lafreniere. You can't really dispute that. And then Vincent Trocheck, I mean, you're telling me a contender wouldn't be in the mix for a guy like Trocheck? I mean, he could certainly help your team, a two-way type of center. So it's not impossible. It's not the most likely situation. But if this were to actually happen, we've seen it in other sports. We've seen it. I'll give you a quick example, a New York example. Let's talk about the NBA for a second. When the Brooklyn Nets brought in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, those two were buddies. They said, you know what? Brooklyn, they're going to have the cap space to make it happen. Let's go team up in Brooklyn and try to win a championship. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen it in other sports. But if I got the update on my phone from Elliot Friedman or whoever it may be breaking, the Rangers are signing Connor McDavid, and then shortly after breaking, the Rangers are signing Kirill Kaprizov. They're teaming up to play together, try to win a Stanley Cup. Rangers have only done it once in the last 85 years. They want to bring a cup to Madison Square Garden. I'm going to be honest with you, Darius, if I got that notification on my phone in Manhattan one day, I'd probably just drop on the floor and pass out. You'd probably, right in the middle of 7th Avenue, you'd probably have to drag me, back home, throw me in an Uber, whatever. I'd probably pass out. Hopefully just pass out and, wake up a few hours later or whatever it may be. But man, that would be the best thing ever. If that ever happened, I would be locked in every second, every minute I already am, but like I would not keep my eyes, I would just keep them glued to the television because that would be I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it, but wow, that would be sick. So definitely can't wait to talk more about free agency, but man, Kaprizov, there's certainly a possibility it happens. Talk about him with JT Miller and Mika Zibanejad. You have a player like JT, north to south, aggressive style of hockey. You have a player like Kaprizov who plays, brings the defenders out, draws them out, allows for a player like JT to crash the net. And then you have a finesse player like Mika Zibanejad. Whew, that sounds like an elite second line to me. And I understand he's better than Panarin, but I want to keep that first line together. I'm already getting ahead of myself, Darius. I'm already making potential lines for when Kirill Kaprizov is a Ranger.
Going to be really exciting. A really, really exciting year with a lot of different storylines like Connor McDavid, like Kirill Kaprizov. And we're going to keep you updated for everything that happens as it pertains to the Rangers here on the channel. Again, it's going to be super exciting. If you made it this far in the video, would you trade Lafreniere for Kirill Kaprizov? I feel like 99% of people are going to say yes, but that's probably what the trade would start with. But let us know in the comments how you feel. The conversation always continues there. It also continues on X. You can find us on X. The link is in the description. But boy, oh boy, it's going to be an exciting season ahead. Let us know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.